Good afternoon, Michael Wynn, Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. All right, we're having a little technical difficulties. Bear with us here. Let's try this again. All right. Hello, Michael Wynn, Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. Welcome to the Digital Marketing Podcast and video series, where we talk about digital marketing strategies and tactics to help grow your business. Today, I'm going to talk about something that I've just really been obsessing about over the past few days. Did an article last week about the Great Economic Reset, and today's episode is kind of a continuation of that topic. And what we're going to talk about today is really why the small business salary reset, what that means, and why personal branding will skyrocket in the 2021 gig economy. Now, I think it's really interesting when you look at and you think about, what's happening and why is personal branding so important in a post-COVID-19 economy. Many of the governors across the United States are trying to figure out a way to roll out their plans for opening up their state, opening up their businesses. And so what's going to happen, number one, is that we're going to see a cautious employer optimism. Employers are going to begin to open back up their businesses. And again, small businesses, as sort of identified by the federal government, would be businesses with less than 500 employees. As they begin to hire, they're going to be forced to do so at lower pay scales than what they were prior to the impact of COVID-19. I mean, let's face it, like many of these businesses are, they were either closed, shut down completely, and they're having to start over from scratch. And so, or you have brand new businesses that are deciding to open because of the vacancy that is filled by those businesses that are, that did close. So I think small businesses and small business owners will be cautiously optimistic as it will take some time for consumer confidence to rebound. But there is a direct correlation in small businesses hiring and consumer confidence, right? Because as small businesses hire, that means more people are beginning to earn money and can then turn around and spend that money. And don't forget, small businesses represent more than 47% of the U.S. employment workforce. Now, number two, the salary reset. What do we mean by the small business salary reset? Well, think about this. Over 26 million Americans have filed for unemployment since March 14th of 2020. Now, whether that small business had to scale back or, whether you've got a company that is, looking to come back into the marketplace, salary levels are going to have to be reset. Again, we were on this incredible market ride, right, where things were going just like gangbusters, and the stock market was just gaining points tremendously. But there is no way it's going to be very difficult for small businesses to be able to afford to come right out of the gate with the same salary levels that they had before what we experienced as a result of COVID-19. So, number three, the salary expectation levels will flip. And what I mean by that is, think about this. Former senior level staff who were higher wage earners will find that their old job very likely will pay less than what it was before this happened, right? I mean, it could easily be a 30% swing in salary because these companies are going to have it so difficult. It's going to be extremely difficult for them to, project operational forecasting and project their cash flow models, because they're all starting back up. Now, yes, they can look back at historical, seasonal trends that they've got, but I mean, again, it's a gigantic reset. So if that's the case, I mean, think about it. You were in an industry and you were in a position and you were getting paid, X dollars, and then, things open back up and you go back to apply for your job and the business had to, reconfigure and do some different things. And, you find out that, that company can only afford to pay, X dollars, and it's 20 or 30 or 40% less than what it was. You're not going to take that job. You can't, so you're going to look for other opportunities. And then on the flip side, where the flip is that, lower level staff, just less experience, maybe they've been in the industry 2 years instead of 10 years, they'll absolutely take that job because it's actually more than what they were making right before. And, or maybe it comes with a new title, manager, director, that type of thing. And so, they may see that as an incentive. And it could be that, it's 5% or 10% more than what their salary was. So the flip is that senior level staff who may have been cut altogether, or who may be downsized or furloughs when they come back. This is absolutely something that could happen. I mean, which really leads us into number 4, which is rookie mistakes are going to prove to be costly for employers. And again, just unpack this, with me for a minute. Think about this. If you've got, younger, well, let me rephrase that. If you've got less experienced staff that are trying to execute things that senior level, folks were doing, it is very likely that mistakes can happen. And these mistakes, I believe, are going to cause a real pain point for small business employers. Now, number 5, I think that we are grossly underestimating what we have learned as a working United States, U.S. economy with remote teams and people being able to, provide telemedicine services and, other types of, consulting and or, other types of, services during this time. So number 5, remote working will fuel the gig economy. And what I mean by that is, during this stay at home, work from home period of during COVID-19, employers who may have resisted in the past work from home in their business model will be more likely to consider remote workers, whether that's a freelancer, whether that's outsourced. But now it really boils down to, these are task-based deliverables that and businesses are going to be forced to be very tight with overhead and keep overhead low and keep their costs low, and very likely will not be able to afford, bloated, overcompensated senior staff people. I mean, guys, there's no doubt, right? I mean, we'll talk about in a minute what the unemployment numbers are, but so because this is happening in remote working, companies that would have never thought about this before are now like, oh my gosh, we could actually do this. We could actually reduce the size of our brick and mortar building. We could take on, remote workers, whether they actually live in our area or whether they don't. Again, that would be dependent on the type of service. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to have this massive shift from employment opportunities that are full-time employees to freelance or 1099 subcontractors, which is the foundation of the gig economy workforce. Now, again, the title of this whole thing was, the Small Business Salary Reset, 10 reasons why personal branding in the 2021 gig economy will skyrocket. So here's what's going to happen, which is number 6. The existing freelance marketplace will explode. And what I mean by that was the economist in the reporter said that in 2019, the gig economy workforce comprised of 32% of the workforce in the United States. And it was expected in 2020 that we would go over 40%, but that did not happen as a result of COVID-19. Now, it is very likely that in 2021, that the gig economy workforce could power more than 50% of the workforce in the United States. And I mean, think about it. The infrastructure for this type of work is already in place. Sites like freelancer.com or upwork.com or fiverr.com already have the platform and the, mechanisms in place for, employers and companies to post their task-based deliverables and for, talented people to jump in there and grab those talents and abilities. Now, here we go. Number 7, personal brand will be the differentiator in the gig economy. So in the current gig economy, ratings play a major role. When you look at ratings for Uber drivers or Airbnb owners, the rankings, which are basically reviews by other peers, will really, they play a significant role in consumer confidence. But in 2021, the consumer is actually going to be companies. Companies are going to be the ones looking for task-based deliverables from experienced individuals. Now, ratings will still be important, kind of like testimonies, but proven work samples demonstrating, your ability to actually provide these and demonstrate that you can do the work. And not only can you do the work, you can do it really well. Now, so I think what's going to kind of continue to kind of unfold here is that many individuals who are former in-house or full-time employees will be forced to adapt the dynamics of a gig marketplace. Now, companies are going to go out and they're going to be seeking these gig workers, and they'll look at their reviews and they'll look at their online resumes and they'll look at their portfolios. But gig workers who include links to their highly active social media profiles will have a distinct advantage. Why is that? Well, think about it. If you've got hundreds of working samples out there because you've been posting every day all the great stuff that you've done and why you did it, what's going to happen? Friends, colleagues, and other people are going to comment on those items. And so you have instant feedback. So it takes this sort of subjective, personal opinion of whether or not this work is good. And then all of a sudden you have real-time comments of people talking about your work that you've posted during, this sort of, explosion of gig workers. Now, so how does this continue? In point number 8, gig economy workers should leverage personal branding. So again, the competitive advantage for gig workers building a personal brand on social media will create gig opportunities literally through their organic one-to-one relationship networks. And for these creatives, and it doesn't necessarily mean, it doesn't matter if you're, it doesn't matter what type of work you do, whether it's with your hands, whether you're just, executing through, keyboard strokes, whatever it is that your skill set is that you can demonstrate that you have an expertise in. And as you publish this, there's going to be a ripple effect, a word of mouth ripple effect, that people are going to see your work. And it's going to facilitate these new opportunities for you to take on this work. Now, the other thing that's very likely is that there's obviously, no different than a 1099 employee that works at a salon has to pay rent for the work that they do in a salon, right? They pay a percentage to the ownership, to rent the space. So I think it's very likely that there will be percentages that are assessed by the platforms to those gig workers. And so any time a gig worker can, gain access to or be contracted with to do these tasks with the company through word of mouth, through organic social media posting, I mean, that's going to save you money. You're not having to pay out the commission to the platform, which is why gig economy workers will want to leverage personal branding. Number 9, the impact of the CARES Act in the gig economy. Now, there's been a massive federal stimulus through the CARES Act. We know that. But here's something to think about. There's now a model that's been created as a result of these regional financial banks to realize new revenue streams through operational loans to small and medium businesses. The terms and conditions of PPP and EIDL programs have created new paths of eligibility for businesses to obtain funding. Now, while some small businesses, going into debt and taking a loan to operate is not a favorable scenario, but where cash flow projections, when you're able to actually say, okay, instead of having these huge peaks and valleys of extreme revenue, extreme loss of revenue, you're able to map out a more smooth or predictable level of expenses, and being able to get that. This is a whole new thing that many small businesses have never, or have very, haven't really tried out. And so what's going to happen is that these businesses can, instead of having to hire someone at a full salary, but then let's say you have a bad month or two, right? And then you're still paying them at the same level, but your revenues don't match. That's a problem. That's a cash flow problem. Again, further reason why the gig economy will absolutely ramp up, and why this massive amount of over 26 million people who have filed for unemployment, who are going to be looking for work, absolutely have to get on social media, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or LinkedIn or YouTube, whatever your platform is, and talk about and demonstrate your ability to, provide this level of service, and provide and demonstrate to everyone your passion and your skills, and your enthusiasm in doing what you do. Now, number 10, the gig economy will expand into the C-suite. This is huge. The reason why this is huge is because, the massive amount of small businesses that have really had to just completely reset their business are going to need the expertise of a CEO or CFO. It's no longer going to work that just because you are a really talented chef, doesn't mean you ran your business well. Or just because you were a really great contractor, or just because you were really good at a trade or good with your hands, doesn't necessarily mean you had a lot of great business acumen. And so it's going to be important that your business have that. And so you're going to need a CEO or a CFO, but you can't afford to pay them. You can't afford to pay $150,000 CFO or CEO to run your company. But what you can afford to do through the gig economy is say, I need you, 3 or 4 days out of the month to oversee things and, give us feedback and work with our accountant, right? And then boom, I essentially rent you and your services during that time. Now, again, I know this sounds crazy, but this is already happening. I mean, this is happening before COVID-19, and it's going to happen even further. Think about this. Think about those senior level, staff who were let go, who absolutely could be or were CFO, CEO, part of the C-suite. And as a result of, what happened with COVID-19, they no longer have that position. They still need income. They still are great minds. They have great business acumen. So for small business owners, who are really trying to master their cash flow and operational expenses, having these sort of, CEO for hire, if you will, in place is going to be absolutely critical. Now, here's the thing. The responsibilities that are going to come for reporting and really creating a strong operational foundation post COVID-19 is going to be so important, and that the disruption of all the models of how businesses were run prior to this has absolutely changed the small business landscape forever. And I think that things that we have been forced to do, like Zoom meetings or Skype meetings or Google Hangout meetings, whatever these platforms are, it's opened up an incredible new vehicle. Like nobody wants to contract with someone and, listen to them on the phone, help guide you through the process, right? But we have found a way to feel very comfortable in remote working through, programs like a Zoom or Google Hangouts, which is why you're going to see CFOs and CEOs and COOs and the entire C-suite provide their services to others and to small businesses, and small businesses will readily pay for those services on demand through the gig economy. So number 10, the gig economy is expanding into the C-suite, and the fundamental changes of operating a small business effectively will absolutely thrive and be a huge marketplace for these senior level, staff or individuals who have the expertise, who have the business acumen to provide a high level of consulting services. But what you should be doing right now, if you are that type of person and you have that experience, but you are at home and you are not working, you need to be posting on LinkedIn right now. You need to be posting and demonstrating your skill and your ability, and putting on display your business acumen on Facebook, on Instagram, any platform that you feel comfortable with putting it out there, because as things begin to open up and the shift happens and the salaries flip and the gig workplace marketplaces really start to ramp up, you need to be prepared. And the people who are best prepared for that are those who have begun developing their own personal brand during this time. Guys, I hope you have found this episode, this session, extremely enlightening. I was really excited to talk about this because I really believe that it paints a picture of what the next 12 months could look like in a post-COVID-19 sort of small business salary reset. Guys, thanks for tuning in today. My name is Michael Wynn. I'm the Chief Digital Officer of Digital Ops, a division of RB Oppenheim Associates. I hope you'll tune in next time. Have a great day.